Finally, it has begun. We have started lambing season. Of course, it happens on the coldest weekend of the year, but we are officially in lambing season, so I'm going to share with you some pictures and we'll have some lamb spam. My name is Stacy. This is Flionfree Fibers. I'm coming to you from my farm in Northeast Connecticut, Easy Acres, Gnomestead. This is where we talk about all things fiber related, including my sheep in my farm. I raise critically endangered Gulf Coast native sheep and Angora rabbits here on my farm, and I also get fiber from some other local farms. So all things fiber. If you are into fiber arts or into sheep or any of that, this is the place for you. So talking about our lambs, one of my older sheep, my ewes, she just has a tendency to wait till the coldest day of the year every year. That's what she does. So last Saturday morning I went out and she was definitely looking for a spot, and there was one of the other ewes. It was kind of not letting her settle down, so I had to get her back into a space for herself. I went out a couple hours later and she had two lambs on the ground. So she was already licking them, cleaning them off, but it was the feel like I think was -2. So I grabbed a towel. We have a whole system of what we do. I helped her dry them off. They were shivering, of course, in the cold weather, but she did really well. She seemed to be uncomfortable for a while. I was actually out for several hours with her. She just wasn't settling down. So I don't think she liked being put in her own place. They typically, because they are a heritage breed, and we don't usually get involved at all, other than maybe drying them off if it's that cold. I had her in her own space, locked in her own space. I don't think she loved that, but it was necessary because one of the ewes we added this spring was being a real bully. So she's not used to it, but she did okay, and they're fine now. They're out with the rest of the flock. So and then a few days later, her daughter had her lamb. So we are at 3 right now. China had 2 ram lambs, and her daughter Crystal had 1 ewe lamb. They're super cute, as you can see from the pictures. They are happy and bouncing around. I believe Rose is our next to lamb, so I'm watching her daily. She is definitely heavy, bagged up, and ready to go. I expect at least twins from her. So she's always twinned. She's as big as a house right now. So that's where we are with the farm. We are all in, besides the extreme cold and then the rain melting all the snow and the ice craziness in between. And now we're expecting, they said snow and now they're said rain. So it's just a mess. It's disgusting. Love this time of year. So besides that, what have we done this week? What am I wearing? I am wearing the Autumnus. This is a sweater I made for, let's see, I was hoping to have it done by Rhinebeck, but I did not. So I wore it to the Fiber Festival of New England. It is by Cindy Croft. It is one of the patterns that Sabito Farms carries. I added a whole bunch of colors to it and marled it, and oh gosh, there was so much in it. I did some duplicate stitching because I didn't want a single color yoke. I did some duplicate stitching up here where I would have had to carry 3 colors, and it was just 1 single stitch. So I went back and just duplicate stitch on those. There's fading and marling all through here. I went from, it's a DK weight knit, but up in here, I actually had the same colors in fingering, so I was able to fade and marl with the fingering until I switched over, and then I would switch back to the DK. So I had a lot of fun making this because I was just kind of doing my thing and being creative, that's what fiber arts is all about. It's your art and have fun with it. And I just like a challenge. And we're going to talk about that because there's been a challenge this week. Whew. I'm still working on it. It was one of those things where my husband came in and he said, "What's the problem? Is that hard?" And I just, as I'm sitting here struggling and undoing it and redoing it and undoing it and redoing it, I was like, yeah. And he's like, "Well, what makes it hard?" I don't know, because it's new. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know how to do it. And of course, I did do some research. I watched a lot of different videos on it. Everyone has their own method, or everyone has their own different advice. So as I'm like sitting there trying to, figure out what works for me, I'm trying all the different ones. We'll get to that. So let's get some admin-y stuff done. Where to find me? So Flionfree Fibers, I am on Instagram. Facebook is my farm name, Easy Acres Gnomestead. I don't think that change has gone through to have both of them together yet. You can also find me on Ravelry as Flionfree. Instagram also has my farm, so if you want to see more of the sheep and more of the babies, that's where if I find me on Instagram at Easy Acres Gnomestead. I do have an Etsy page under Flionfree Fibers, and we are a shave 'em to save 'em. I always get that backwards. Shave 'em to save 'em provider. Because we do raise endangered sheep, they are critically endangered. We are registered with the Shave 'em to Save 'em passport. So if that's something you're into, we are a provider for that. So when we have roving and yarn and all of that, that will be on my Etsy page, and you can put that, I think you need to order 4 ounces of whatever you get, and you'll get that passport stamp with your order. So that's and if you like what you see today, give us a like, give a thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button, and you'll know when we post things in the future. Last week, the video did not post. I hit the thing for it to upload, and off I went to my interview, and then we went into lambing, and I never even noticed until Monday, so it didn't come out till Monday. Today is Saturday. I have been flying by the seat of my pants with sheep and what's going on, so I think I'm going to try and have the videos uploaded by Saturday. That way, if I record during the week, I can make sure I can come up during the weekend and just check and make sure everything. Because there's some weekends, like last weekend, I wasn't up in my studio at all because I was outside a lot or sleeping. I was so tired. I was up all night because those 2 little ram lambs could not figure out where to milk from. And Mama was kind of moving around too much, and I couldn't get her to stand still. It was way too cold to let them figure it out, so I bottle fed them. I milked Mom, which also was, she was so, she had been so swollen for days that I kind of plugged her up, but I got her milked, fed the lambs, and then I went out every couple hours to check on them and see if they had figured it out yet. So I was up all night long going and checking on them, giving them a bottle, and the next morning I just haltered her and tied her up and helped the little ram lambs figure it out, and then they have been on Mama since, and I am done. So we don't typically get involved at all, but due to the extreme cold, they are still livestock for us. They are still, they're still animals. So it depends. They are ram lambs, whether they'll become part of our breeding program or not. Anyway, one is very well structured as far as body type. We do like them to hit all the markers as far as being totally self-sustainable. So we'll see as they grow whether they get registered or not. But we are looking for absolutely no interaction. they can do everything on their own. So that's where we're at. It wasn't that big of a deal. They were fine. They just couldn't figure it out, and Mama was unsettled. So if it was a warmer day, I wouldn't have even bothered. I would have let them deal with it. But they would have been okay. Can't have them in that kind of cold, though, without eating for too long. So let's see. This past week, so I did have my interview. They're doing a kind of a study on traditional arts. So they're looking for the old school arts like woodworking, basket making, things that people used to do, homesteady wise, or survival wise, I guess, and kind of seeing where those are at and how they can support that in the area. So it is a program, I think, with the Connecticut Historical Society and a few others. So we had a chat, obviously, from the fiber aspect of things and the fiber farm aspect of things even more so. And we're going to chat again. She wants to come out and see the sheep and all of that, but we're going to do that when it's not muddy. So there are more when I know more, but it was a good interview. We were there for a couple hours, a lot of chatting. So besides that, I did just a little bit of knitting this week. A little bit. I have been on a mission, I guess. So finished objects, I have a whole display in front of me. So this week, I don't know what happened. I got a bug in me that I was like, you know what? I have an idea. So I had a bunch of singles up here behind me that I had spun. Some of them were leftovers from stuff I had spun and then plied, and then just had this little bit left where I ran out. One side was more than the other, and I don't think I really knew how to deal with that at the time. And so I just had this little bit of single left, and I had another one with a little bit of single left. And then I had this big one up there that was local farm yarn that I had spun all up, and then I didn't realize, I kind of forgot what I was going to do with it. So it sat up there as a single for a while. It's been up there probably since July. And then I had the Hog Island I had been working on my drop spindles, a whole bunch of those, several turtles from my Turkish drop spindles, all done up, several ounces. And what else? I had a couple, we call them Heinz 57. They're like a mystery wool. It's that white like roving you get to learn on. I was at a spin night and didn't have anything, and they're like, here, have some of this. So I just, sat there and spun. It was to spin. And then I had some and I still have some in that little stripy bag from when I learned to spin that had just been sitting on a bobbin, just sitting. So all of them were kind of dead as far as energy. So when I spun them, if you're a spinner, the ply, everything looked extremely overplied because all the energy was gone out of the singles. But when I wet finished them all, they came out beautiful. So what shall we start with? We'll start with, so these were the Heinz 57s. One's a little darker than the other because while they were both white, I think they're different mixes, and I don't know. I have no idea what they are. They are all plied with the singles I got from Green Mountain Spinnery. So Green Mountain Spinnery takes all of their mill ends and then they just put them on a cone. So if you've ever seen a fiber mill, they have a spinning machine which has a whole bunch of bobbins on it, and one may run out just like our bobbins before the other. So they have these little bits left, and they're just scraps, and they put them on cones. So I grab them when I go up there, and I spun those singles into my singles. I was like, you know what? I have an idea. So I went after all of my singles. So this one's 56 yards. This one's a little darker at 68 yards. And that's 0.84 ounces. This one's 0.85. You can see how even like a weight, it's, I don't know, it's not a huge difference. 12 yards difference. I mean, it's a difference. But so those are my two gray and whites. Those are my Heinz 57s. My Hog Island, so this was all done on spindle. This is also an endangered breed. I got this from someone, they didn't want it, and it came with a spindle, so I started it with the spindle it came with, and then I switched to my Turkish. So you can see some of it's like totally underspun because it was on that other spindle, which I don't know if it was right for it, but it's a good like rustic yarn, and oh my gosh, did this thing bloom. It was like scratchy, and I don't know, it wasn't overly appealing. It has like a little bit of gray heathering in it, but it wasn't overly appealing, and it was kind of scratchy, which you kind of expect from a heritage sheep. But when I wet finished it, it bloomed so wonderfully. It is so soft now. I mean, it's not merino soft, but it is soft. Like, I probably couldn't wear it on my neck because my neck is super sensitive, but I could definitely wear it. So this may go into in a shawl type weave. And then what else? And then I had one. So I was taking all my singles, my Hog Island singles, and spinning them all together. Not this one. This one, this is, I didn't remember because it's been sitting on the spindle for so long. I decided to try spindling the other direction, and I didn't remember. So when I went to ply it, it was like going, you know, it was overspun and it was going crazy. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, I spun all day. So I'm like, am I that tired? What's going on with me? And I couldn't figure it out. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, you know what? I ran my spindle the other way. I was trying to see how it was to run the spindle down my leg and do it in the opposite direction, just to see if I could like get a little bit of a rhythm going. So I figured it out, and then I just put it around my wrist and plied it to itself. So this is a good crochet one, or it will go in a weave because it's plied the opposite direction. And then what else do I have here? So these are, it's a mix of fibers from a local farm. So I would assume there's Gotland in here, and there's probably Raka in here. Some merino. No, what does she have? Hold on. They're gonna lose it. I think my husband just got home. Mohair, because she has Angora goats. So there's a mix of stuff in here, and it's also dyed. So there's the gray, some colors, and some natural whites. Still plied with the unknown singles. There are wool, alpaca, whatever it was on the bobbins from, and I got two. So let's see, this is 2.2 ounces. This came out to 96 yards. And this is 1.84 ounces, came out to 76 yards. So I have a good amount of this, very good natural wools. And then this was not my last piece. I was on a spinning journey this week. So this is, oh, can you see the colors? So there's two different singles in here that were leftovers. One was a pink gray Polworth, and the other was, I believe it was a yak silk blend from Greenwood Fiberworks. So those were also plied with the gray. So I took both of those and put those in here. So because they were both like just that little bit of single left that I had. And this came out to 1.3 ounces for 82 yards. So I was really happy with this. It's really pretty. So I ended up with all this hand spun yarn, and I was like, oh, I could get through all these singles and ply them. So there's been this braid at the local yarn shop that I had an idea for. I'm like, I know what I want to do with that braid. I've never done it before. I finally picked it up this week because I was on a spinning mission. And here's the start of it. So I call it a bubblegum braid. It's got all these bright colors in it. And this one is plied with that same gray cone of mystery wools. And they came out okay. So I was following what you're supposed to do. Like I said, I watched a bunch of different videos. So what I did, there's some people that will, when they do the honeycombs, they'll actually like do a single, split it in half, and put a piece of fiber in there and honeycomb it that way. This way, I watched several people is they did the stuff they wanted to kind of spiral on and honeycomb. They did it as a single. They over applied the thin parts. It's a thick thin, and then you let it kind of ply into your roving a bit, and then you grab a big chunk, whatever the staple length is, and you, from further back, you pull back and you find that staple length, and then you kind of slide down real quick and let the spin go into the thin part again, because that's where the spin's going to go. So I let it spin a little bit on the thicker part, but it goes right out into the thinner areas. So you got your thick and thin, you do the whole thing. And then what you do to create these is you ply it. So, and then it was, am I plying it with a single ply in the opposite direction like I would? Or am I plying it on something already plied? Or, yeah, you're going to keep hearing my dogs because this is what happens when people are home. Or am I going to ply it in the same direction? Like, what am I going to do? So, and everyone has a different method for this. So I applied this one on the single and a Z-twist. And then of course, it just seemed like it was, I couldn't get my wheel, like I couldn't get enough on without the single completely unplying. So it was very finicky, I'll say that. Hold on. Take two. I'm gonna get interrupted 100 times. But anyway, so this one I did with the single ply. It was very finicky because I had to watch how much ply was going out of the single and trying to get this onto the single with before it unplied itself completely. So because I was using pre-done singles, they weren't over twisted enough. So if I do my own, or maybe I will grab those singles and run them through again to get them over twisted. If you're going to run them, if you're going to ply it with a single in a Z-twist, so the opposite direction, you need to over twist the single that you're going to put it on, because this is over twisted. I mean, you got to put a lot of energy in it to get it to do what you want. So, and then the other problem I was having was you do a method where when you get to your honeycomb or your spiral, whatever you want to call it, when you get to these, you're holding your single back here and you're plying with your thick and thin. So it's coming from the side, you're holding your single straight. Then you want to switch, so it runs your single on there a little bit and it locks it. So when your honeycomb gets locked in, then you run it down, push your honeycomb up, and then you lock it in place. When I've got it down smooth enough to do a video, I will do a video. But I was doing it on this one, and the top lock looked fine. And it was, everything was good, but by the time it actually got up to wrap around the thimble, the top lock disappeared. Like, it unraveled itself. And it was, oh my gosh, blowing my mind. And of course, that's when my husband came in and was like, why is it so hard? Well, you do it. Tell me how to do it. It's just one of those things. Like, you don't do this. So it's still great. It came out. I love it. I love it with the gray. It gets a nice contrast. I don't even know how many yards this is. It's like a little mini skein because I'm learning. So I popped that one off, little mini skein, and I did another one. So I changed several things, but watched more videos. Some of them I just was rewatching, but this is my second attempt. So this one's still on the nitty naughty. I just pulled this off. So now my honeycombs are locked in place. This one, my core yarn, that should be what we're doing because we're doing a core spin, is actually, that's funny, it spun different, is actually a commercial cotton. So one of the ladies said on her video that she said the cellulose fibers seem to take up twist better. So when you over twist them, when you do your wet finish, they kind of relax in and they don't care. So I was like, okay, we'll try it, because it's a plied yarn. So I think it's a 3-ply. So now you're taking a plied yarn and plying it again. So you're putting a whole bunch of energy into it while I'm doing this. So I did 2 things on this. So I started that way where you can see the core yarn, and I finished that way. And then I started actually wrapping it completely where you couldn't see the core yarn. One of the things I learned, or I'm kind of like thinking about, is when I was doing my single, I'm doing the thick thin. I'm doing my thin how I would normally spin, which is quite thin. And other areas I was like, oh, don't do that. And I was really trying to focus. And obviously on the thick areas, I really had to focus on, getting your poofs. So, and I got them locked into place. So there's parts where you can see the lock, like that's your core yarn locking it into place. And then I started, let's see where you can't see one here on this one, I started burying it. So I'm going to put this down, but that's my second attempt. So these guys are locked in place really well now. And they're so cute. So this was the fun fiber. This was one of my purchases this week to practice on, because I knew it's a fun spin. So you got to have fun colors. So that's a pink core yarn. So I went from a gray to a pink. I like them both. So when I was locking it on, I would change directions, put the pink would ply over, your core yarn would spin over, and then I would go back and I would cover it up with my plying yarn. And then I would go into the coil. And when you're doing the coil, you're also having to twist the coil because all of the twist is in the thin parts of the yarn. So you're pulling that out and trying to twist it. I don't know. It's really, my hands haven't gotten that yet because it's really like you're twisting to get that in there. It's fun. It's time consuming. I really like it though. And there's so many other ones that I have like that I want to do. I bought a wheel last year at Rhinebeck. I bought the Country Spinner too. I actually went to Rhinebeck looking for it. I did the entire day, spent way too much money, and I found the wheel as we were leaving. So that was a chunk of change. That like almost didn't double it, but almost doubled my cost right there. So it was quite an investment, but I bought it specifically because I wanted to do art yarn. These little bobble honeycombs are too big to go through the orifice, and I don't have a jumbo spinner, which I could have done that too, but I like the Country Spinner for the art yarn. So that's what I'm doing it on, and now I'm finally actually doing the art yarn on there. So I use it to ply sometimes. It really depends. I did use it to ply when I did my chain Navajo ply because I needed to go really slow, and my Traveler likes to go fast. Like I have a fast flyer and that thing just wants to go. So it would not go slow enough for me to work that ply. So there is a reason to have more than one wheel, and I want another one, at least one. So that's what I've been doing this week. I mean, I have so much yarn. Look at it all. Yarn. It's so great. And I will probably put it out at the market, but if I don't sell it, I definitely have plans for it. So, definitely. because I actually brought the CVM that I spun last winter in out of my market stuff. I brought it in and I have a plan for it. I just haven't got to it yet. It is going to be another weave. It's going to go on my triangle loom for a triangle shawl. So, but I think I want to do multiple colors on there. So it's all bunched up actually. You can almost see it. Over there on the racks. So that's next on the project. I have, oh gosh, there's so many. I have some core yarn over here sitting on the table waiting for me. My son went and pulled out all his clothes that don't fit him anymore because I'm going to do some rag rug. So I have like the warping thread is right there. I always have more projects in my head than I am ready to that I can start all at once. But so we could say these were whips because they've been sitting there and now they are all finished objects. So what else do we have? The whips, I didn't knit a lot this week, but I did get, I'm gonna pull it out of the bag. I did get a few, where is it? Where's my progress keeper? I got a few inches done on my Mosselberg. I think I have maybe 3 more inches until I start decreasing. I did go sit at the shop for a day. I wasn't gonna go to spinning. I was going to spinning this week. So we have spinning twice a month at the shop, and I had the vehicle running, all my stuff was in it, and I just went out to feed everyone real quick before I left for the night, and that's when Crystal had her baby. So I dealt with her and was working with her. Everything was fine. She lost her lamb last year, so I just wanted to double check. It was her first year lambing, so it's completely typical, but I just wanted to make sure everything was good and no one bullied her, because she's not little, but she's passive. So I have sheep that are like more, they're not bullies, but they're confident in themselves, and they'll push her around, they'll push the baby around. So I wanted to make sure she was going to keep track of that baby. But I ended up putting her, we have a calf hutch, I put her in there by herself with the baby, food, water, and all that. So I was like, okay, you're secure. And I came in and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go. Now it's dark, it's raining, whatever. I'm going to stay home and watch. I decided to go anyway. And I'm so glad I did, because we haven't seen each other in a while. So we keep getting weather issues and getting canceled. So, and the holidays. So I was glad I went. Plus we're doing a study this year. We're going to do the Save and Shaven program, and we voted on what sheep we wanted to spin. So we're all going to order. We're going to fill our passports and do all the heritage breed endangered sheep. So that's exciting, and I wanted to go talk about that because I had the survey. And what else do we do? So whips, that's the only one I even worked on besides all of my yarn. So, but I did purchase this crazy thing, and I also purchased another one. So, oh, you know what? I'll have to show you the pattern. So the shop came up with these little kits, and it's just 2 little minis and a pattern, which I have in my phone, for this little Valentine's thing. And this is going to be my first Valentine's knit. I know we talked about Valentine's knit last week, but it's been crazy and I haven't picked any up. But this is going to be the first one because it's thrown in my face. And of course it's in my thing, so my knit companion. So it's the Be Mine Cozy, and it's a cute little cozy for your cup. So quick knit, cute, like little present, whatever. So I'm gonna actually sit down and do those this afternoon. I need a break from my spinning wheel chair, so I'm gonna go do those. And there's enough for 2 in there, so you just reverse your knit, and it's a quick little chart. So super, super easy. You could probably take the chart and just expand your circumference to make a headband. So I'll probably do, excuse me, do that as well. And then I haven't listened to any books, haven't done anything like that. Gosh, I'm like outside checking for lambs every couple hours and then back in and doing stuff. It's been a week. Oh, what else? Other things. Oh, the Wafa sales this weekend. So if you like to support farm yarns and local artists and small businesses, the Wafa sale is a virtual sale. They have one weekend a month and they have a whole bunch of vendors throughout the country. It is on Facebook. They just do lives all day long. Yesterday I stalked it. I watched probably every single sale thing because I plan to participate in the next month or so. Not next month. You have to apply 2 months out, so it'll be in a couple months. But I wanted to have my yarn back from the mill before I did that, plus build stuff up. You get 30 minutes and to present your stuff and sell. So some people say, this is what I have, but go see my website. Some people are like, this is the number, tell me you want it. First one to want it is the one that gets it. So it's really fun. You can watch it from the comfort. I had it running while, every 30 minutes it was changing vendors. I was kind of stalking for whose style did I like, how did I want to run mine, what got the best response, those type of things, different types of what other people have for products like versus what I have, so a lot of it was right in line. And that is the Wool and Fiber Arts Facebook page. So, and then they have a group, Wool and Fiber Arts group, and it's shortened to WAFA. So that's running all day, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You can see the list of vendors. There's a live going on constantly. So all you have to do is go to the page and hit it, and you'll see whoever's live selling. Whatever they don't sell during the live is put into an album and they put it out for you to look at afterwards. So you still have time to purchase from people that didn't yesterday. There are some really great vendors. I was very well behaved. I only bought one thing. And because I wanted to compare it to mine for quality, I want to make sure my quality is up to snuff. So I only bought one thing, and my gosh, if I could, I wanted to. There's a lot. There's some beautiful art bats and yarns, and there's so many great things. But I was well behaved and controlled myself, watched it for, gosh, it went from like 10 a.m. yesterday. I think I missed the one because they had some technical issues, and then I fell asleep. But then when I woke back up to go to bed, my lips are chapped again, or they feel chapped. When I woke back up to go to bed, Handspun was on, which I love her stuff. Those ladies are so fun. Beautiful, beautiful bats. So I watched that and then I went to bed. So it's like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. because it is nationwide. So go check that out. It's super fun. I did check out Wayland last week. I couldn't go to the farmer's market because I was here with the sheep and I needed more time with them. And I was exhausted. So my husband drove me up to Wayland Farmers Market, which is the fiber market they have twice a year. It was good. There was lots of stuff. I didn't buy a single thing. And I kept saying, can I buy stuff? And he's like, sure, go ahead. So he might be annoying sometimes, but he was like, buy it. I did not. I have a big purchase coming up, so I was very well behaved. I am getting a new drum carder, and it's a couple $100, but I'm selling my drum carder to offset it. So mine it's not set to handle my Angora and stuff. It doesn't have enough TPI in it. You have a certain number of tips for drum carder, and mine's fine for like a regular wool, but it's not fine enough for my mohair or my Angora rabbits. So I'm getting one that's much finer so I can handle all of that. And I may, depending on the wool, I may have to like comb it first or maybe do like a pre-prep for it. But otherwise it'll be fine. So it'll make much finer bats and smoother bats. So I am trying very, very hard to only get what I have to get. But that's where we're at. If you liked today's video, I know it was quick and interruptions, but I hope you enjoyed the lambs, and I am working to get a Farmcast out. I have so much video, been loading forever, but that will come out. You can or go follow my farm YouTube channel at Easy Acres Gnomestead, where I will get that loaded. I only have the introduction one up so far, but I do have one for several weeks, including the lambs and videos of the lambs. So if you want to see all that and you're interested in the homestead part of things, that's over there. Give us a like, subscribe, come back. We'll talk more, and when I will do a video when I am happy, when I choose which method I prefer and which I find works the best. So there's all sorts of things. This was also let's run it backwards. This is Falkland, and I was like, I know nothing about Falkland, so I picked up my book, which is across the room. Hold on, let me grab that. Okay. Sorry, I hit the pause. You don't need to see all that. So, I first went to this book. Looked for Falkland. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, what? So I went to this book. I'm like, all right, well, this book's bigger. Maybe it has Falkland in it. Why doesn't my spinning book have Falkland in it? And I found it. 16 it says. So when I went to it, I go to the page and it says, what's in a name? Many fiber names imply one thing but mean something else. Let's look at a few. The term Falkland refers to wool grown on the Falkland Islands off the coast of Argentina, but there isn't a Falkland breed of sheep. I highly doubt, as a matter of fact, I know for a fact that fiber did not come from an island. It came from Vermont. So, it says it's not a breed, it's just where these sheep came from. Almost like my Gulf Coast. So my Gulf Coast come from the Gulf Coast. They didn't originate there. They were brought in by the Spaniards, and they were left as feral sheep. They literally roamed the plains, whatever, and twice a year they rounded up, brought them in, grabbed lambs, sheared them, whatever, and sent them back. They didn't shepherd them. They were feral sheep, which is why they're so hardy. But it's the same for the Falkland. These are sheep that may have been mixed with other breeds over time. But the things I was able to gather from this and then compare to my braid was, it says staple lengths are often 3 to 4 inches, which did pan out. Runs from 18 to 33 microns. I don't know, soft enough. I don't know, like, whatever. That's just how thin your yarn is. So it says the Falkland Islands are home to a significant number of polwarths, an Australian breed developed from a mix of Merino and Lincoln. So a lot of these breeds are mixed from other breeds at some point anyway. And then, it gets down to where I call them princess sheep. Like, they need a lot of handling. And a fair number of purebred merinos. So then there's also a strong history of Corriedales in the island, as well as some Romney in the background. Falkland shepherds manage their flock to produce increasingly heavy clips of ever finer, high quality fiber. So basically, it was a developed, no-name breed, just comes from the Falkland Islands. So the books are a great resource. I wanted to look it up before I started spinning it, so I had a little bit of info. Definitely wanted to know what the staple length was. Ooh, that's gonna fall. Because when you do your slub, you need to know what your staple length is, because you don't want it too long. You want it just a staple length, otherwise it's gonna come apart. Your thick parts will come apart if it's more than one length. So, and some of mine were longer than others. Sometimes when I pulled back, I was like in the middle of one, but it's all good. I just wanted to have that general thing. So, I do have one more spinning book that I want to get. And I know that the way it says to make beehives is different. It's more of the make the single, split it in half, and run that bigger piece in. So, take 3. There is another spinning book, and I have that on my list. Let's see. Does anyone else have an Amazon cart that is like just full of things that at some point you're going to buy? It's kind of how I keep my, I guess instead of favorites, I just throw them all in my cart. The Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. It is on Amazon, so you can get it. It's one of the first ones I wanted, but it's okay. It's coming. So if you are spinning or want to learn about different designs and not just your average spin, that's a good book. There's all sorts of things in there. I want it as a reference book. Obviously, you can look anything up on YouTube, but just like this, you're going to get a million different answers and a million different ideas and how people do it, which I love because I like taking all of the info, applying it the way I think works the best for me, because we're all individuals, so things are going to work different for everyone. But that's what I have this week. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, check out the lambs, enjoy. See you next week, hopefully with a finished Mosselberg and maybe socks, but who knows where my path will lead this week. Have a great week and happy making.